Station, this is Houston. Are you ready for the event?
And Houston Station, we are ready for the event.
European State Space Agency and Élysée Palace. This is Mission Control Houston. Please call station for a voice check.
European Space Agency here, Capcom. This is ESA. How do you read me?
ESA, I have you loud and clear. There's a bit of echo, but I understand you. Bonjour Philippe. Bonjour tout le monde.
Hello Philippe. Hello everybody.
Bonjour Thomas.
Hello Thomas.
Le président,
The president is just now arriving. Hello, Mr. President. I can hear you not too well, but welcome aboard the space station. Hello, Thomas. Are you doing well? Well, listen, it's going very well, and thank you very much for being with us this morning. The mission is coming to an end, but everybody's in excellent shape. We're very happy to greet you aboard the space station. I'm very happy to be with you. You look as though you're in good shape. How are things going up there? Well, listen, the past few days have been rather different. There's been a certain uncertainty regarding the return date, but when you leave on a mission like this, we know that various things can happen. In some ways, I think it's almost a blessing to have a few days within the station. Evidently, there's work to be done, lots of things to do. We've finished everything, however. We're ready to return, and for me, it's just a few days to be able to make the most of it. Before returning to Earth to see my family soon. So how is the typical day set up on a mission? What is its structure? The typical day is pretty much the same every day. We begin the day by having a major conference with all of the control centers. We ask them questions, and we hopefully will get questions answered within, and of course, notably in Europe, but everywhere on Earth, we're engaged in scientific research for the Japanese, now for the Europeans as well. We go into our space suits for the Americans. We have a couple of days, a couple of hours of physical exercise to maintain and stay in shape. So as to get back to Earth in good shape is a day then normally about 1730 hours at the end of the day. Then before we go to bed, we have a couple of hours free to relax a bit, to get ready for the next day. The time passes very quickly. Sometimes we have an exceptional date in which we have an EVA, extravehicular exit. But generally, we are very busy. What is different with regard compared to your mission of 5 years ago? Have things changed, or is there certain commonalities between the two? Where you've stabilized things? Well, actually, there are quite a number of things that have changed. The station is still the same, but nonetheless, we have a new Russian module that has arrived. It's been quite a while since we had added a piece to our space station. Within quite a number of things have changed. You can look all around me. You can see there's quite a bit of equipment and cable. We've added scientific research equipment aboard the station, and so it's much more furnished than it was 5 years ago, as I recall, because the scientific involvement of the station increases every year. We have more and more time to dedicate to scientific research, and on the outside as well, we've added a couple of solar panels. This was during my mission. So, in effect, quite a number of things have changed, and yet I feel there's a certain familiarity there. Well, these famous extravehicular exits, tell us a little bit how they go, how they proceed. Well, it's a little bit the ultimate experience of the space flight. It's as if you were in a submarine. The station's a little bit like a submarine. Well, we're very well protected by our steel body. against high pressure and high temperatures and light, but within everything is fine. It makes life easy, quote unquote. But when we go out into the EVA, we're much more exposed. The risk increases quite a bit. We're very careful, of course, regarding safety procedures. But the spacesuit has all of its individual systems like radio, propulsion, everything that enables us to live in space. And for me, this experience is something that is very different by comparison to the inside. We were out there about 70 meters away to install the solar meters, these solar panels. And of course, we feel ourselves very small compared to the space station, even more so to the Earth. And this is part of the experience of EVA that I've experienced. And for you, what are the objectives? What are the main objectives of the mission? And do you return to Earth with, what are your feelings about it, and how do you see the sequel? It's a very good question. The main question, mission objectives are two. We have the space station on the one side. We use it as a laboratory in the service of the Earth to obtain medical results and the results regarding materials and alloys, the various systems, all of these things that can be used. We hope to improve life of our citizens, co-citizens, notably European and French, aboard the space station. What we also do is to prepare for a subsequent exploration, to use this station as a stage in which to learn to live in space. It's been a long time now. It's been more than 20 years as of now that we've been in space uninterruptedly. We've had European and a space presence, and not only, but globally as well, over 21 years. This will enable us to go further, not to remain only in the neighborhood of the Earth, but to go further on, to return to the moon, but in a more durable manner, not only to plant the flag, but to set up a base and then in a few years afterward to go to Mars. Mars then will be able to respond to certain fundamental questions about where we've come from, where we're going in the universe. There are various atmospheric and liquids-based questions that have to be responded. These are the two objectives. And so these are the results that we hope to be able to come up with through our mission. And the observation of the Earth on a permanent basis that you've been involved in, which is inspiring, it's very shared. Do you see any consequences of instability in the climate? Are you able to see any indications on a daily basis? Unfortunately, yes, Mr. President. We can see distinctly and clearly when we take a look through the space station port. What I've been able to see is the fragility of the Earth. It's shocking. It's a little bit sensory feeling to see that we're a limited, isolated oasis with limited resources, but we can also see the negative effects of human activity, pollution, the rivers, atmospheric pollution. We see things of that nature. We're very shocked during this mission to see the meteorological and climatic phenomena of an extreme nature, fires of an enormous parts of the Earth. In Canada, California, it seemed that, well, all of California was covered with smoke, and we could see the flames from here, 400 kilometers of altitude, also in the south of France and Greece and the European Mediterranean basin. We can also see the sad spectacle of tropical storms. We have the impression that they're linked in a chain that is very impressive from the space station. But once that had passed, we knew that they'd created damages, destructive damages. It's very impressive. We know that these phenomena are accelerated in terms of force and intensity by climate change. This is a vision which is a very human view. There's a sentimental view. I direct my photographic apparatus to be able to capture what is beautiful, but we also have to complement that with the very scientific view from our space observation center in order to be able to validate, produce valid data regarding meteorological phenomena related to climate change. And so in any manner, so have you changed objectives of your mission compared to the last mission? Yes, we have seen, unfortunately, phenomena such as the melting of the ice sheets, which we can see over from space over a extended period of 4 to 5 years. I can see it. And now there is, of course, there are cycles in it, but we look at the long-term trends, long-term curve, and we can see that from the space station. What we've really been able to see, I think, is these meteorological phenomena which are accelerating in a worrisome degree. And so we know that there is an increased temperature on the Earth, but we know that we're beating records regarding conflagrations and tempests and storms. And this is very different from the mission that I participated in 4 or 5 years ago. Unfortunately, you're documenting certain pessimism. I'm an optimism, willfully an optimist, I can tell you. But today, unfortunately, we see the consequences on a daily basis over the Mediterranean, in the Caribbean, the Pacific, North America. Yes, absolutely. And this sort of makes you feel sad about that. I think of the coral reefs, those that are barely above the sea level, which you can see very clearly from the space station. We hope, as you say, that we'll be able to take measures that will affect to make the planet remain habitable for everybody for years and generations and centuries. You know, Thomas, in any case, unfortunately, we have to see that in certain regions, the consequences are already visible. We have to resist, to protect, to adapt, and to prevent the developments. We have to accelerate the measures that we take, and that's partly one of the objectives of this stage, which we can do at a national basis and also on a regional basis. And these are steps that there's a lot of enormous work ahead of us, but with this will to accelerate our efforts. As you look around a little bit, the work that you're doing, that as it has evolved over 5 years, but also exploration, but also the whole set of work within space. So what do you think France should plan for the next 10 to 15 years? Well, I think there's a chance for it. We should have an ambition which is elevated and large, in a little bit the past and the present of France within space. We are the leading economy of Europe in space sense, so that Europe is a space power. We have contributed enormously to the change regarding changes in the climate, responses to climate changes, natural changes, and also the condition of people across the planet. So we have seen how Spain can be of great assistance to us in the future. We have to increase our utilization of space in Europe. We have all of the assets to use. We are world leaders in space. We must have the corresponding ambition to be a leader also over a 10 to 15 year horizon regarding all the problems that we've listed that have presented themselves. I share your view. Also with regard to young people, we've spoken to them about this regarding also what you've done so that young people can enroll themselves in programs to familiarize themselves with these programs and to amend our education in this regard with France over certain time periods in the future, so that we can face up to the challenges that present themselves. And Europe undoubtedly is the leading space power. We have, of course, competition with China, America, Russia. We also have competition with the private sectors, which completely changes the organization of space. And in terms of what is most publicized. There's also a domain, a space domain, which is increasingly facing new problems in terms of competition and also rules that have to be defined in France. I think we can still say today is a very major space nation, etc. But also within 30 years, the problem is to greatly improve the services in the observation of the climate, the connectivity, especially everything that has to do with navigation over worldwide coverage. And we Europeans also, with our partners, need to develop these services in the use of data. And so to be able to, this is the first act. Well, the second act for us is an evolution of France's historic role through Ariane Espace, the partnership, the intimate partnership with our fellows, with very strong emerging partners, with companies that are coming out of the laboratory to do public and private related research. And the idea is to continue to innovate and to have this desire and this will by 2025, 2026 to be using reusable resources. And you have indicated our desire to be able to launch and to participate also in the major exploratory missions to the Moon and to Mars. These very large projects are at the limits and the frontiers, technological and human frontiers. But every time we learn exceptional information regarding material, the balance of our ecosystem in the service of our planet. I think that it's a overall framework which, it seems to me, is absolutely judiciously. All of these applications that we do within the space station, we have a very strong, if I may say, to land. This is research related to everyday life for applications on the one hand. On the other are those inspirational activities that we're involved in to help people to change, to bring people along with us. We need that. We need these missions which a little bit push and pull people, everybody, to the greatest excellence, so as to be able to respond to societal needs, also in terms of political consequences. And so from the two sides, we are impelled, the French and the European space stations, the International Space Station, all of this presents us, of course, we're always on the international level in our efforts, and this is what we really need, which enables us to retain France's place and to do even better, and this is what inspires us. The objective, in effect, regarding everything that, in addition to what all we know, this European plan, we will see if things can accelerate, and if we have to be able to adhere to this program, I think it's absolutely essential. I'm convinced that on the one hand, there's a great deal of industrial and economic and scientific basis for it, but also on the other hand, climate and new materials, evidently, the knowledge which will enable us to engage in research will enable us to be able to, and of course, the sentiment involved is I think above everything, a sense of adventure. Yes, I agree with you. When we see it from a historical perspective, 50, 60, 70 years that we've been in space, it's almost nothing at all in the global and human timescale. We must not doubt that within 50 to 100 years we'll return. Everything will be very different, very connected, with applications we cannot even imagine at this time. We have to position ourselves in this regard. This is the manner in which I am working as a scientist, as an engineer, as an astronaut. This work that we can do through the various agencies to contribute to an improved future for everybody. And this is how we live. This is how we conceive the mission. And so at the end, we risk our lives a little bit to go into space. We're happy to see, I'm happy to hear these words from you. And I hope that we can attain these objectives, which in any cases are very good ones. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you. We are arriving at the end of our connection. I'd like to thank you and the team and the team that has enabled this contact between us. I do not forget that a few weeks after having been elected, I brought you, I was able to welcome you back to the surface of the Earth. It was very difficult physically for you. During this period, I was very happy to be connected with you. And now you're back up there, shall we say. And I'd like to thank you again, because every day you give your time and your energy, and you take risks, as you mentioned, to continue the space adventure on this French, European, and world scale. And this is also very inspiring to us. And so this is essential to our future progress. And so we're looking forward to a desirable future. And all, in addition, you're bringing this inspiration and this implementation of the dream. And once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's very important to be able to bring people with us in this adventure to inspire them. I remember when I was young that I was inspired that way, and that's why I also want to share the mission. It's an honor to have you aboard the space station today. And in effect, I remember when we spoke, perhaps upon our return, to be able to do it a little bit differently, perhaps landing on Earth, rather in the water. Well, we shall make an appointment for the future adventures in the space domain on this French and European level. And so we are hoping that this will, I have no intention personally to stop at that point. So, again, once again, Thomas, and thanks you so much for your time and for everything else. Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks very much.
Station, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event.
Thank you to the French President. Station, we are now resuming operational audio communications.